I never thought I'd be that guy, the guy who finds out his wife is cheating on him. I mean, we had our issues, sure, but I thought we were solid. Married for about 8 years now, and honestly, I thought I knew everything about her. Her name's Jessica, she's ambitious, a little bitchy sometimes, but I always figured that was just her personality. She's a marketing exec, pretty successful, and I work in it. We've had our ups and downs, but overall, I believed we were on the same page. Until I started noticing little things that didn't add up. It all began about a month ago. Jessica started coming home late more often, claiming work was piling up, or she had to attend some networking event. She'd brush off questions, say I was paranoid or insecure. The first sign that something was off was how quickly she'd change the subject when I mentioned wanting to come with her to her Friday night girls' night out. She'd get bitchy, tell me I was overthinking and that she needed her space. At the time, I shrugged it off, thinking maybe she just needed to blow off steam. Then I noticed her phone. She'd be secretive, putting it face down whenever I was near, texting in the bathroom, locking her messages. I didn't want to make a fuss, but I felt the tension building. I'd catch glimpses of her messages, nothing explicit, but enough to seem suspicious. And her behavior around her gym schedule was weird too. She'd go to the gym early in the mornings, then claim she was just doing cardio or some yoga. But I'd see her coming back sweaty, flustered, acting jittery, and I knew she was hiding something. One day, I decided to follow her. I didn't plan to catch her in the act or anything. I just wanted to see what she was up to. That's when I saw her slipping out of the house in the evening, wearing that tight workout gear she usually only wears to the gym. I followed her to this tiny, almost hidden studio downtown, one of those spin classes she'd been taking for months. The place was dead, no one around, and I watched her sneak into the back entrance with a guy I'd never seen before. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and they went into the storage room together. It took my breath away. I mean, I saw them go in and spend what felt like an eternity in there. When they finally came out, they were laughing a little too close and she looked flushed, more than just from working out. I couldn't believe my eyes. That was the moment everything shifted. I'd uncovered what I suspected all along. Jessica had been cheating on me with her spin class instructor, Jason. I didn't even know this guy, but I could tell from the look in her eyes as she left that room, she was completely into him and I was just crushed. That night I couldn't sleep. My stomach was twisting, my head was spinning. I kept thinking about all the little signs, her secretive texts, her late nights, her defensive attitude when I asked about her schedule. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I knew. Instinct kicked in. I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it right away. I needed to figure out what I was going to say, how I'd approach her without losing my cool, because this was huge. I loved her, but I also hated what she was doing. The betrayal felt like a punch to my chest, and I knew the truth would change everything. So for days I kept quiet, watching her, gathering my thoughts. I didn't want to be impulsive, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending nothing was wrong. That's when I started planning my next move. I had to decide whether I could forgive her or if this was the end of us. The emotional toll was heavy. I felt betrayed and humiliated, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew I had to face her soon. The next step would be confronting her face to face, and I knew that conversation was going to be explosive. The day finally came when I couldn't hold back anymore. I told myself I'd give her one last chance to come clean, to admit whatever she was hiding. But deep down, I knew. I knew she'd lied about her gym routine, about her nights out, about everything. That afternoon, I waited until she was supposed to be at work, but instead of going there, I went straight to our bedroom and grabbed her phone. It was a risky move, I know, but I just needed to see if there was more evidence. I unlocked her phone with the code I'd memorized. She had no idea I'd been snooping, or maybe she did, but she never suspected I'd actually look. When I got in, I was expecting to see some flirty texts or maybe some explicit messages. Instead, I found a whole chain of conversations with Jason. They were casual at first, talking about spin class, her workout routine, and light flirtation. But then it turned into something more. Flirty messages, suggestive comments, and worst of all, plans to meet up outside the gym. Some of the messages made my stomach turn. "Can't wait to see you tonight. one said with a heart emoji. Another, that spin class was good, but I really need the real thing. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. It was clear she was lying to me about everything, and she was actively sneaking around behind my back. I stared at those messages for a long time, feeling a mix of anger and devastation. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? I knew I couldn't just confront her without evidence. I had to be sure. So I kept digging. I found her calendar, which she'd been trying to keep hidden. She had scheduled secret meetups with Jason, some in the evenings, others on weekends. Every detail, every lie came crashing down around me. I felt so betrayed I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just a fling. She was seriously involved with this guy. The woman I trusted, the woman I married, was out there lying, sneaking, cheating, doing it all behind my back. That night I sat alone in the dark, staring at her phone, trying to process what I'd found. My mind raced with questions. How long has this been going on? Did she ever love me, or was I just some placeholder? I was furious, hurt, and confused all at once. I wanted to break something, scream, cry, but I also knew I had to keep it together. I couldn't just blow up without thinking. I needed a plan, a way to confront her, to get the truth out. In the end, I decided I'd wait. I wanted her to come home that evening, to face her when she wasn't in control. I'd prepare what I was going to say, but honestly, I already knew the answer. There was no turning back from this. The trust was shattered, and I wasn't sure if I could ever fix it. What I did know was that I'd finally uncovered the truth, and that truth was going to change everything. I just didn't know how I was going to survive what was coming next. That evening, I was a nervous wreck. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept checking the clock, wondering if she'd come home early or if she'd be late. When the door finally opened, my stomach clenched. Jessica walked in, looking tired but still giving me that same bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was in control. I could tell she was trying to act normal, but I wasn't buying it. I'd been sitting on this secret all day, and I was ready to blow. She tossed her purse on the table and started to head to the kitchen, but I stopped her. I told her I had something important to say. Her expression changed. She looked annoyed, suspicious, maybe a little defensive. I just looked at her and pulled out her phone, holding it up for her to see. She froze, eyes wide, trying to act like she had no idea what I was about to do. "Who's Jason?" I asked, voice steady but furious. Jessica's face went pale for a second, then she started her usual bullshit about how it was nothing, just some trainer at the gym, or some stupid excuse about how she was just talking to him about her workout routine. She lied again, trying to brush it off, but I didn't buy it. The messages didn't lie. They told a different story. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "God, you're crazy. You've been spying on me, haven't you? You're just insecure like always." But I pointed out the texts, the plans. She denied everything, said it was all a misunderstanding, that Jason was just helping her with her spin class, that nothing was going on. She called me paranoid, accused me of stalking her. That was her favorite line. "You're so insecure, you're crazy." But I knew better. I knew the truth, and it was staring us both right in the face. And then she started lying even more. She said they were just friends, and that I was overreacting. She claimed I was imagining things, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. That's when my chest started to feel tight, and I felt like I was about to lose it. Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was just some jealous idiot. But I was. I knew exactly what was going on. She was having sex with him, probably more than just once. That much was clear from the texts, the timing, the sneaking around. I asked her outright if she'd been sleeping with him. Her eyes flicked away for a second, then she looked me in the face and lied again. "It's none of your business," she snapped. "I don't owe you explanations." That was the breaking point for me. I felt everything crashing down all at once. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal. I was so mad I could have punched a wall, but instead I just stared at her, trying to keep myself from losing control. I told her she could take her lies and her excuses and shove them up her ass. I told her I didn't want to be with someone who didn't respect me, who lied and cheated behind my back. She kept denying, kept trying to manipulate me, but I'd had enough. I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her I was done, that I was leaving. She looked surprised, like she thought she could just keep lying and I'd accept it, but I wasn't going down that way. I was done playing her game. When I said I was leaving, she snapped. She started yelling, calling me crazy, accusing me of spying and being paranoid. She said I was overreacting, that I was the one who was insecure. But I knew exactly what I'd seen, what I'd read. And I knew I couldn't stay, not after all that. I gathered my things, told her to leave me alone, and walked out. The cold air hit me hard, and I felt like I'd just been punched in the gut. I'd lost my wife, my partner, the person I thought I knew, all because she'd been sleeping with her spin instructor. I never thought I'd be that guy, but here I was, standing in the dark, realizing my marriage was over, and I was left picking up the pieces of what used to be my life. The fallout was immediate and brutal. I spent the next couple of days in a fog, going through all the stages of shock, anger, despair, disbelief. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the way she lied to me, the way she looked when she was trying to deny everything. It was like a punch to the gut every time. I kept replaying the scene in my head, wondering how I missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to her deception. I started questioning everything. Was I not enough? Was I a terrible husband? How did I not see this coming? And the worst part was, I felt so stupid for trusting her. Jessica had always been a bit of a bitch, demanding, manipulative, quick to dismiss my feelings, but I thought that was just her personality, not a sign of her cheating behind my back. Turns out, she was just a master at hiding her tracks. One thing I couldn't shake was the sense of betrayal. It wasn't just that she cheated. It was how cold she'd been about it, how effortless she was at lying. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone selfish, manipulative, and totally indifferent to what I was feeling. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this coming? Was I just so blinded by love that I ignored all the warning signs? I decided I had to face her again one last time. I couldn't let her get away with lying and gaslighting me. So I texted her, told her I needed to talk. When she finally showed up at my place, her face was all smirks and bitchy smiles, like she thought she could manipulate me into forgiving her. She kept claiming she didn't do anything wrong, that I was overreacting, that I was just jealous because she was so hot and desirable. I lost my shit right then. I poured everything out, how I found her messages, how I saw her sneaking out in her gym gear, how she'd been lying to my face all this time. She just rolled her eyes, told me I was crazy, that I was insecure, that I was paranoid. She said I was losing it, and that I needed therapy or whatever she thought would shut me up. That was the moment I realized I was dealing with a truly manipulative person. She was gaslighting me, trying to make me doubt what I saw, what I knew was true. I could feel my blood boiling. I told her she was a liar, a cheat, and I didn't want to see her face again. I told her she'd ruined everything, that I'd never trust her again, and that I was done. She scoffed, told me I was overreacting, and said she'd move out if I wanted her gone. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. All I wanted was to get out of that nightmare. The feeling of betrayal was so deep, so raw, I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. That night I started packing my stuff. I couldn't stay in this house, not anymore. Not after what I'd uncovered. I knew I needed space, time to breathe, to think about what I really wanted. Part of me wanted to fight for the marriage, to fix what was broken, but another part was just exhausted, completely drained by all the lies and betrayal. I left her a note saying I was moving out, that I needed time to figure things out. I felt numb but also strangely relieved. Finally, I'd taken control of my life again, even if it hurt like hell. As I locked up and walked out that night, I realized something important. I'd lost a lot, but I'd also gained clarity. No matter how much it hurt right now, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. The trust was shredded and I had to rebuild from scratch. The pain was real, but so was the lesson. Never ignore the signs. Never let someone treat you like you're not worth the truth. The world felt cold, but I was starting to see that maybe, just maybe, I could survive this and come out stronger. The days that followed were a blur. I found myself moving between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief. I kept thinking about everything. The lies, the betrayals, how she always dismissed my concerns as insecurities. Part of me wished I could go back and do things differently, but deep down, I knew I'd been blind for too long. Trust, once broken this badly, isn't easily fixed. I had to accept that the woman I loved and married was gone, replaced by someone who cared only about herself, about her new toy, Jason. Living apart was brutal. Jessica kept texting trying to play the victim, claiming she was sorry, but her words felt hollow. She'd try to pretend she didn't know what I was talking about, that I'd misunderstood, that I was just jealous. But I saw through her. I knew she'd been lying from the start, and every time she denied it, it just made me angrier. How could she pretend like nothing happened? Like I wasn't the victim? Meanwhile, I started to focus on myself. Went to therapy, not because I thought I was crazy, but because I needed to understand how I'd let it get this far. I also started working out more, hitting the gym, trying to clear my head. Honestly, I'd never felt so broken, yet so determined to move forward. I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I was angry at her, but I was also angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. The hardest part was dealing with the aftermath. I had to tell friends and family, and they were all shocked. My parents were furious, my friends sympathetic but also questioning how I missed all the signs. Jessica, on the other hand, doubled down on her lies, making excuses, turning the blame on me. That's when I realized her manipulative streak was even worse than I thought. She was trying to make me doubt myself, to make me look crazy, but I refused to fall for it. One night she showed up at my apartment unannounced, trying to smooth things over, acting all remorseful. But I wasn't buying it. I told her she had no right to come back, that she'd broken whatever little trust we had left. I told her I was done, that I deserved better than some cheater who played me for a fool. She started crying, calling me a villain, saying she loved me, that she'd change. But I knew better. Love doesn't make you cheat, doesn't give you the right to lie and betray someone. That's when I decided I had to cut all ties. I changed my number, blocked her on social media, and told her she wasn't welcome in my life anymore. I needed to rebuild, to focus on myself. Even though it hurt like hell, I knew I had to move on. I started seeing a therapist, working on my confidence, trying to patch myself back together after everything I'd been through. It wasn't easy, but I knew I couldn't keep living in the past, reliving every painful moment. The biggest lesson I learned, besides never ignoring red flags, is that some people are just inherently selfish and manipulative. Jessica wasn't just cheating. She was trying to destroy what we had, to rewrite her version of events. But I refused to let her win. I'm not the same person I was before I found out, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this pain will make me stronger, more aware, more careful about who I let into my life. I don't regret knowing the truth, even if it shattered everything I thought I knew. Sometimes, you just have to accept that some relationships aren't salvageable, and the best thing you can do is walk away and start over. Looking back now, I realize that the entire experience changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think love was enough, that if someone loved you, they'd stay faithful, respect you, and never betray you. But the truth is, some people are just selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for a moment of pleasure or excitement. Jessica's betrayal taught me that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to reclaim your dignity. I won't lie, it's been a brutal ride. The pain of betrayal cuts deep, and it's taken months of therapy, self-reflection, and a lot of sleepless nights to start feeling like myself again. But I've come to understand that I deserve honesty and respect. I've learned to listen to my gut, to recognize the signs I once ignored, and, most importantly, to never let anyone treat me as less than I am. I've also come to see that revenge isn't about hurting her back or making her feel guilty. It's about reclaiming your power, about standing tall after everything been knocked down. I didn't want to stoop to her level or play emotional games. Instead, I focused on healing myself, cutting out the toxic, rebuilding my confidence, and learning to trust again, but this time more cautiously. Now I spend my days working on myself, and I don't let her betrayal define me. I still get angry sometimes, still think about how she lied, how she betrayed everything we built. But I also recognize that I'm stronger for having endured it. It's a lesson in resilience. It's a reminder that even when everything falls apart, you can pick yourself up and start over. That's what I'm doing now. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't make excuses for someone who's lying to your face. And above all, don't stay in a relationship where you're being disrespected or betrayed, hoping things will somehow get better, because they rarely do. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and trust that, in time, the pain will fade and life will move forward. I've learned a lot about myself through this. I've learned that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. That betrayal doesn't define me, and neither does the pain. What matters now is that I keep moving forward stronger and wiser than I was before. It's not easy, but I know I'll be okay. I've survived the worst, and I'll keep surviving. Because in the end, the only person who truly matters in your life is you. And you owe it to yourself to never settle for less.